My name is Hannah, and I am from a small coastal town in the Sri Lanka. I grew up where the air always smelled like salt, where neighbours knew each other's stories, and where my mother's voice could calm any storm inside me. When I was 19 years old, I married a man named Mark. Mark was older than me, polite and quiet. He visited my town once for work, and after that he kept calling. At first he sounded gentle. He told me I was brave, that I deserved a bigger life than the one I had. My parents liked him because he spoke respectfully and promised he would take care of me. Mark lived in the United States, and after the wedding I was supposed to move with him. Everyone told me I was lucky. I tried to believe them, but the truth is, I was terrified. I had never been on a plane. I did not speak much English. I had never been far from my mother, not even for a week. My mother was my safe place. She made jokes when I was anxious. She cooked my favourite soup when I was sick. She sat beside me when I cried, even if she did not know what to say. She just stayed. And in my life, her staying had always meant everything would be okay. Before we left, Mark stayed with my family for almost 3 weeks. I watched him carefully, trying to learn who he really was. He was polite to my parents, but he was not warm. He did not talk much. Sometimes he looked at his phone for long minutes, as if he was waiting for instructions from someone. I told myself he was just shy, or stressed, or tired. I told myself love could be quiet. On my last night at home, my mother packed my clothes with her own hands. She folded each shirt slowly, like she was trying to make time move slower. My father stood near the door, pretending to be strong, but I saw his eyes were red. My younger sister clung to my waist, refusing to let go. My mother gave me a small necklace with a tiny shell pendant. "This is from the beach where you used to run," she said. "When you miss home, hold it. Remember you are not alone." I hugged her so tightly I could feel her heartbeat. She whispered, "Be smart, Hannah, be careful, and if you ever feel unsafe, you tell me, don't hide it." At the airport, when it was time to board, I cried so hard my chest hurt. Mark held my hand, but he did not say much. He just said, "It will be fine," like it was a simple problem with a simple answer. The flight was long, and my body felt weak from fear and nausea. I watched the clouds outside the window and tried to imagine the life waiting for me. Mark barely spoke. He slept, or looked out the window, or scrolled through his phone. I kept thinking about my mother's kitchen, the sound of our neighbours laughing, the familiar warmth of my town. With each hour in the air, it felt like I was being pulled farther away from myself. When we landed in the United States, cold air hit my face like a slap. It was winter, and snow was falling. I had never seen snow before. It was beautiful, but I could not feel joy. I felt small and lost. Mark's father picked us up. His name was Robert. He was tall and serious, with a voice that sounded like a command, even when he asked a normal question. In the car, he did not look at me much. He spoke mostly to Mark, not to me. Mark told me his mother was at home cooking. We drove to a house in New Jersey. From the outside, it looked ordinary, but inside it felt dim and quiet, like the air itself was holding its breath. Mark's mother, Linda, greeted us with a quick smile that did not reach her eyes. She hugged Mark. She nodded at me like I was something delivered, not a new family member. That first night, I sat on the edge of the bed in a small room and stared at the wall. My heart felt heavy. I wanted to call my mother immediately, but I did not know how to use the phone plan Mark had. I did not even know the rules yet. I only knew one thing. I missed home so much it felt like pain. The next morning, Linda called me to the kitchen. She handed me a paper with a list. The handwriting was firm and sharp. Kitchen, she said, pointing. Living room, laundry, and cook rice. Mark likes rice. I nodded, even though I did not understand every word. I understood enough. My chest tightened. Back home, my mother treated guests like family. Here, I felt like a worker. I spent the whole day cleaning. The water was freezing. My hands turned dry and cracked. My back ached from bending and scrubbing. Linda walked behind me sometimes, checking corners as if she expected me to fail. Mark sat in the living room with his father, watching television and drinking coffee. He did not ask if I was okay. He did not say, "Thank you." When I finally sat down for a moment, Linda's voice cut through the air. "Don't sit long," she said. "House stays clean." That night, Mark climbed into bed and turned his back to me. I stared at the ceiling and listened to the house settle in the darkness. I felt like a stranger, trapped inside someone else's life. Days became a pattern. I woke up early, made breakfast, cleaned, cooked, stayed quiet, and tried not to do anything wrong. Robert's voice was loud when he was angry, and he became angry easily. Once, I made the rice too soft, and he slammed his hand on the table. I flinched so hard my spoon fell. "What is this?" he shouted. I did not know how to explain myself in English. My throat closed. Tears burned behind my eyes. Linda stared at me as I had embarrassed her. After that, I became even quieter. I moved like a shadow. I smiled when someone looked at me, even though my cheeks hurt from forcing it. I tried to remember the advice people gave me back home. Be respectful. Be patient. Don't cause trouble. But patience started to feel like a cage. I wanted to call my mother every day. I needed her voice like air, but when I asked Mark, he frowned. "The phone bill," he said. "Too expensive. Once a month is enough." Once a month. I felt like someone had taken my lifeline and cut it into tiny pieces. I counted days like a prisoner. When the call finally came, I held the phone with shaking hands and tried not to sob. My mother's voice sounded far away, but it still carried warmth. "Hannah," she said, "how are you? Are you eating well?" I lied. "I'm fine, Mama. Everything is okay." I could not tell her the truth. I was ashamed. I did not want her to worry. I did not want her to feel helpless. So I swallowed my pain and said I was happy. After 3 months in that house, I realized I was pregnant. The news hit me with two feelings at once, fear and hope. In my mind, a baby meant a new beginning. I thought Linda would soften. I thought Robert would smile. I thought Mark might finally become closer to me. I imagined a tiny family of my own inside that house, a reason for them to treat me gently. But nothing changed. Linda looked at my stomach like it was an inconvenience. "Pregnant women still work," she said. "Strong women work." I worked even when my body felt heavy and dizzy. I got sick in the mornings and still scrubbed floors. If I leaned against the counter for a moment, Linda's eyes sharpened. Mark did not protect me. If I said I was tired, he would shrug. "Finish first," he said. "Then rest." One afternoon, I stood in the kitchen washing dishes and the room suddenly spun. My hands trembled. My vision blurred. I lowered myself to the floor before I fell. Cold tiles pressed against my legs. My breath came fast, like I was drowning. Linda walked in, saw me sitting there and frowned. "Get up," she said. "Don't be dramatic." Tears slid down my face silently. My stomach tightened with fear for the baby. That night, lying in bed, I placed my hands over my belly and whispered, "I will protect you, I promise, even if no one protects me." That promise changed something inside me. I started dreaming about freedom. I started imagining my own apartment, my own kitchen, my own rules. I started thinking about learning English, getting a job, making money, and building a life that belonged to me. When my son was born, I named him Noah. He had big brown eyes and soft hair. The first time I held him, something strong rose in me, stronger than fear, stronger than loneliness. In that moment, I did not feel like a helpless girl anymore. I felt like a mother, and a mother does not give up. But even after Noah was born, the house did not become kinder. Linda did not help me. "It's your baby," she said, "not mine." Robert complained when Noah cried. "Too noisy," he muttered. "Make him quiet." Mark went back to work a few weeks after Noah was born, and I stayed home alone with the baby and the chores. I barely slept. I ate quickly, standing in the kitchen, afraid someone would call me lazy. Some nights, I cried while rocking Noah, trying to make sure my sobs did not wake anyone. I often held the shell necklace my mother gave me and whispered, "Mama, I miss you. I'm trying to be strong." The first year with Noah was the hardest year of my life. I felt invisible. I felt like a machine built only to clean, cook, and stay silent. Then one night, Noah got sick. He had a fever, his little body felt hot, and his breathing sounded weak. I panicked. I carried him to Mark, who was watching a movie in the living room. "Please," I said, struggling for English words. "Baby. Sick. Doctor." Mark barely looked at me. "He's fine," he said. "Give him water." I felt rage and fear crash together inside me. Noah's tiny face was flushed. His eyes were half closed. I could not accept fine as an answer. That night, I stayed awake holding him against my chest, wiping his forehead with a damp cloth, praying he would not get worse. I felt more alone than ever. I wanted my mother. I wanted her hands, her advice, her comfort. But it was not my monthly call day. I sat in the dark and whispered, "Mama, I need you." When the sun rose, Noah's fever finally started to drop. He slept in my arms. I looked at his face and made a decision. No one was coming to rescue me. If I wanted a better life, I had to build it with my own hands. I started looking for ways to learn English. One afternoon, when Linda sent me to buy bread at a small store, I saw a flyer on a bulletin board. Free English classes. Community Centre. Tuesday and Thursday. My heart raced. Free classes meant Mark could not complain about money. It felt like a door opening. At home that night, I asked Mark carefully. "English class," I said. 2 days. Learn. Mark frowned. "Why? You don't need it." I tried again. "For baby," I said. "For doctor. For school." Linda overheard us. "She's too busy," she said sharply. "House needs work." Something inside me refused to shrink. I kept asking, again and again, for days. I did it politely, but I did not stop. Finally, Mark gave a tired sigh. "Fine," he said. 2 days, but don't neglect the house." On the first day of class, I walked into the community centre with my hands shaking. The room was full of women like me, immigrants from Mexico, India, Egypt, Vietnam, and other places. Some had babies. Some had tired eyes. All of them looked like they carried stories in their bodies. Our teacher was a woman named Miss Karen. She spoke slowly and smiled kindly. "Welcome," she said. "You are safe here. We learn together." I sat in the back at first, afraid to speak, but I listened carefully. I wrote down every word. I learned sentences like, "I need help. My baby is sick. Please speak slowly, and I don't understand. Each new phrase felt like a tool placed into my hands. And for the first time since I arrived in America, I felt power growing in me. Miss Karen noticed my effort. One day she said, "Hannah, you learn fast. Don't be afraid of mistakes." No one had said something like that to me in a long time. I went home that day, holding those words in my chest like a small flame. Slowly, I practiced English at home. Mark did not care. Linda did not like it. "Why do you talk like that?" she snapped once. "You think you're better now." I kept quiet, but I did not stop learning. After a few months, Miss Karen told me about a part-time job opening at a small grocery bakery counter. "It's a few hours," she said. "They need someone reliable. You can try." My stomach twisted with nerves. A job meant money, but it also meant conflict. Still, I thought of Noah. I thought of doctors, rent, and safety. I decided to try. When I told Mark, he laughed. "You can't do it," he said. "Your English is weak." But I went anyway. The bakery counter was warm and smelled like bread and cinnamon. The manager, Mrs. Delaney, was friendly but direct. She asked me simple questions. I answered slowly. My voice shook, but I smiled and tried. She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "We'll start you small," she said. 2 hours a day. You learn. You work. Deal?" I almost cried from relief. "Yes," I said. "Thank you." Those first weeks were hard. I made mistakes. I misunderstood customers. I mixed up coins, but Mrs. Delaney corrected me kindly. Customers were patient. Every day, my confidence grew. I saved every dollar. I hid the money inside a small pouch in my bag. It was not much, but it was mine. I bought Noah a warm sweater. I bought myself a second-hand winter coat. And one day, I bought a cheap phone with my own money so I could call my mother more often. When I heard my mother's voice outside of the monthly schedule, I broke down crying. "Hannah," she said, alarmed, "what happened?" I told her half the truth. I told her it was hard. I told her I was tired. I did not tell her everything yet, but my voice gave away more than words. She said, "My daughter, remember who you are. You are not weak." For a moment, I felt like I could breathe again. Then, just when I started to feel life might improve, something happened that changed everything. One evening, Mark came home late. His steps were heavy. His breath smelled like alcohol. He slammed the door hard enough to shake the wall. Noah started crying. "Quiet!" Mark shouted. I held Noah close. "Please," I said softly. "Baby sleeping." Mark's face twisted with anger. He kicked a chair and it scraped loudly across the floor. My body froze. I had never seen him like that. Fear flooded me so fast my hands went numb. He moved toward me, and I stepped back. My heart pounded. I ran to the bedroom and locked the door with Noah in my arms. I sat on the floor shaking, listening to Mark's angry footsteps outside. That night, I understood something clearly. I was not safe, not me, not my son. The next morning, I told Linda what happened. She stared at me with cold eyes. "You upset him," she said. "Don't talk back. Men get stressed." Her words made something snap inside me. She was not going to help. She never would. A few days later, I overheard Robert and Mark arguing about money. Their voices rose like thunder. I stood in the kitchen holding Noah, trying to make myself invisible. Robert turned toward me suddenly. "If you don't like it here," he said, "you can leave, but the boy stays." For a second I could not breathe. "What?" I whispered. "I'm his mother." Robert's eyes were hard. "This is Mark's family," he said. "The boy belongs here." My legs felt weak. I walked away before they could see me shaking. That night, I held Noah tight against my chest and whispered, "No one will take you from me. No one." From that moment, my plan became serious. I spoke to Miss Karen after class. My voice trembled as I told her what was happening. She listened carefully. Then she said, "You don't have to do this alone." She gave me a phone number for a women's support group and a legal aid clinic. She helped me write down my story in simple English so I could explain it without fear. She said, "You have rights. Your child has rights. We will help you understand them." I started attending a support meeting on Saturdays in a small room behind a church. Women sat in a circle and shared their stories. Some cried, some were angry, some were quiet like I used to be. But in that room, no one judged. They understood. A woman named Angela led the group. She spoke calmly and clearly. "Abuse is not only hitting," she said. "Abuse is control, isolation, fear, threats. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You deserve safety." For the first time, I believed it. The legal aid clinic explained my options. They told me I could file for protection if I felt threatened. They told me no one could legally keep my child from me the way Robert said. They helped me prepare papers and connect with resources for low-income mothers. I continued working at the bakery counter. Mrs. Delaney gave me more hours when she saw how hard I tried. I saved more money, quietly, carefully, like I was building a bridge out of a dangerous place. Then the opportunity came. A small apartment program for mothers had an opening. It was not fancy, but it was safe. It was close to my work. The rent was low. It had 2 rooms and a window that let in sunlight. I accepted it immediately. I waited for the right day. Mark was at work. Robert was out. Linda was distracted on the phone. I packed quickly: clothes, Noah's toys, important papers, my savings, and my shell necklace. My hands moved fast, but my heart pounded like it might break my ribs. When I carried the final bag to the door, Linda saw me. She crossed her arms. "Where you going?" she asked. I swallowed. "New place," I said. "For me and Noah." She laughed sharply. "You'll come back. You need us." I looked at her and realized her words no longer controlled me. "No," I said quietly. "I don't." Then I walked out. The air outside felt cold, but it also felt clean. I placed Noah in the car seat of the taxi the support group arranged for me. When the car pulled away, I did not look back. My apartment was small, but when I stepped inside, it felt like a palace. There was no shouting, no list of chores in angry handwriting, no cold eyes watching me, just quiet. I put a blanket on the floor for Noah and sat down beside him. Tears came, but they were different tears. They were the tears of someone who had survived. The first months were not easy. I worked, cleaned, cooked, and raised Noah alone. But I was used to hard work. The difference was, now my effort built my own life, not someone else's comfort. Noah started daycare for a few hours while I worked longer shifts. He made friends. He learned new words. He laughed more. And every time he laughed, I felt strength return to my body. Then I received a message from home. My mother was sick. The words hit me like a fall. I called immediately. My mother's voice sounded weaker, but she still tried to comfort me. "My daughter," she said softly, "you did what you had to do." I cried. "I'm sorry I'm far," I whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier." "Hannah," she said, "I didn't raise you to suffer in silence. But I also didn't raise you to break. You are still standing. I'm proud of you." I held the phone against my cheek like I could hold her through it. not long after, my mother passed away. When I heard the news, I felt like my body turned to stone. I cried for days. I blamed myself. I replayed every moment I had lied to her and said I was fine. I wished I had gone home. I wished I had hugged her one more time. On the hardest night, I sat on my small apartment floor with Noah sleeping beside me, and I held the shell necklace tightly. I whispered, "Mama, I'm sorry." Then I whispered, "Thank you," because without her love, I might never have found the courage to save myself. After my mother's death, I promised myself I would not waste the life she gave me. I would build something good. I would raise Noah in peace. I would keep learning and growing. At the bakery, Mrs. Delaney noticed my progress. One day she said, "Hannah, you've improved a lot. You're reliable. Customers like you. If you want more responsibility, I can train you." I nodded, shocked. "Yes," I said, "I want." I began learning small paperwork tasks, stock lists, and scheduling. My English improved faster because I had to use it every day. I stopped being ashamed of my accent. I stopped being afraid of sounding imperfect. I understood that speaking at all was my victory. Mark tried calling me. He left messages. Sometimes he sounded angry. Sometimes he sounded pleading. "Come back," he said once. "Noah needs his father." I listened to the voicemail and felt sadness, but I did not feel weakness. I called him back once, only once. "Noah needs safety," I said. "He needs peace. I'm giving him that," Mark argued. I ended the call. I kept attending support meetings. I made friends there, women who understood fear, who understood rebuilding. They celebrated small wins with me. My first full conversation with a doctor. My first time signing a lease. My first time saying no without shaking. 2 years after I arrived in the United States, I looked in the mirror and saw someone different. I was still Hannah from a small town in the Philippines, still carrying grief, still missing my mother every day. But I was also a woman who had fought for her life and her child's life. I was no longer a frightened 19-year-old girl on a snowy airport curb. I was a mother. I was a worker. I was learning. I was building. One morning, Noah ran into the kitchen and hugged my legs. "Mama," he said in his little voice. "School." I laughed. I kissed the top of his head. I watched him put on his small backpack, and I felt something close to peace settle in my chest. My life is not perfect. Money is still tight. Some nights I still cry when the house is quiet and my mother's memory feels too heavy. But I do not cry from fear anymore. I cry from healing. Now, when I wake up in the morning, I make tea and stand by the window. I watch the street. I watch people walking their dogs and rushing to work. And I remind myself, I did it. I survived. I chose a future. If someone listening to my story feels trapped, far from home, scared to speak, I want you to know this. Your voice matters. Your safety matters. Your life is worth fighting for. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to take one small step, and then another. I am Hannah. I am a mother. I am still learning. And my son and I, we are finally living a life that belongs to us. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share. And tell me in the comments where you are listening from. Your words might give strength to someone who needs it. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.